I went through this entire spinner rack looking for some of your work, and we don't have any. We don't have any. I was like, how did we drop the ball on this? You're probably one of the first artists that I associated with a character where your style was so significantly different when you started that run from what I'd been reading that I was like, I have to now pay attention to who this person is and what he's doing.
Let's go back, and I think most artists sort of try to do the same thing we all do. There's a couple things. There were artists that I followed that I recognized their artwork just by looking at the art. I didn't need the name in the credits. I didn't need to see their name on the cover. I just saw it and I went, that's Gil Kane.
Yeah.
Right? That's Neil Adam. Mm-hmm. That's John Byrne. Right? That's Jack Kirby. Yeah. I just knew it. And I remember when I broke in early, I was like, man, if you could get to the point where somebody just recognizes your artwork, like that to me is like the nirvana of it. At the beginning, I was doing a lot of graphic design stuff because my artwork wasn't very good. Mm. I mean, it's true. If you look at the Infinity Incorporated stuff, drawing's okay at best. But I was doing this fancy graphic stuff because I had a degree in graphic design that I had just graduated from college. And I put that in there while I was learning to draw better, literally to draw the better part of it. Mm-hmm. And then I went over to Marvel, and they were in this what I call vanilla era where they didn't want any fancy layouts with the panels and whatever else. So that kind of exposed me a little bit because I was like, I got to just rely on drawing. It also forced me not to use the graphics as a crutch.
Sure.
So I go, I'm going to have to get better as an artist. So there was a period there where I had to just go, Todd, you got to just draw better. And then I asked a couple questions to some of the people high up, and they loosened up, and I pushed the boundaries a little bit of how far I could go. And then I went, I think I'm now a better artist, and I can incorporate some of that graphic, not to the degree that I needed to hide it in Infinity Incorporated, but I thought augment it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so I go, hey, why don't I use better drawing, a little bit of graphics, and see if we can't like update Spider-Man, because I thought he was sitting in 1965 and bring him into 1990, right? It was just a 15-year thing. They should have been doing it, I've said before, should have been doing updates every 5 years, and my stuff wouldn't have been the jolt that you saw, right? Yeah. I just brought him to 1990. That's all I did. It wasn't anything more than that. But because nobody had been moving him forward from 65, it was a big jump. Well,
right? Peter and Mary Jane too,
right?
Like
just
as
them.
Characters,
just the way they look. Sure. Look, Mary Jane was a model.
Yeah,
a model. Like, all you got to do is Google and go to models. Look how they look when they're walking around. They dress properly, and in the comic book, Mary Jane was still straight hair and wearing T-shirts and blue jeans. And I go, that's not what a model looks like. I have a lovely wife, right? We're going to celebrate a big anniversary here, and she dressed up and looked way better than Mary Jane, and she's not a supermodel. She should have been, but she's not, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going, why? So I started curling her hair. Like I gave her a curling iron, God forbid, right? And they're like, oh, Todd, you're a genius, right? So it's always, let me tell you, I've been very opportunistic in being in places where people I thought drop the ball. Mm-hmm. So when I pick it up, it seems like a bigger move than what it was. And if they weren't fumbling, then what I was doing would have been more average, I think.
Yeah.
But
I want to talk about Comic-Con in general and your history with it. What's your earliest memory of coming here? What stands out to you as what this con has started as and become? Okay,
so I'm an old man now, right? I'm in my 60s. So, my first one I came to, I'm 16, and I came to show my portfolio. Mm. So that first one was like, again, it was a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
At the Cortez Hotel in the basement in one ballroom where it was, I mean, like a traditional old school comic book convention. Sure. We had 4 or 5 guests and then a couple tables with long boxes. That was the beginnings of sort of Comic-Cons. I mean, it had been going for a while, but I'm saying by the time I got there, it hadn't evolved much. And I remember trying to get advice from as many people as possible. And this is one of the stories I told, which is true, where Jim Shooter was doing a portfolio review and I was doing something dumb. And by the time I got there, the lineup was too long and they said he was only going to be there for another 45 minutes. And I go, oh man, I could see the line. I was never going to get my portfolio looked at. So I just waited and waited and waited until he had to go to the bathroom, right? And then when he went to the bathroom, I literally followed him into the bathroom. This is a true story. And I stood next to him in the stall, pretended to pee while he was peeing, right? When he shook, I shook. Okay, he zipped, I zipped. We went, I washed my hands, although they were clean already. But I just went, okay. And then as we left, and he was heading back to the portfolio to finish the last little bit, I said, hey, Mr. Shooter, do you mind if I show you some artwork? Now, he shouldn't have. He should have said, hey, son, I've got a line up, go get in line.
Yeah.
But he was a gracious man, and he said, all right, let me see real quick.
Okay.
And so I basically cut in line by doing a fake pee, getting in there, and I showed it to him. Now, again, he didn't hire me. He didn't say it was good or whatever else, but he did give me 2 pointers.
Okay.
And the whole thing of trying to break in was you just kept adding pieces of like, here, you got 10 deficiencies, 20 deficiencies. Fix this. Okay, now there's only 19.
Okay.
Fix this, now they're 18. And at some point, you don't have to get to 0. You have to get to where they go, hey, I remember this kid was showing me stuff and he had 20 deficiencies and now he's only got 7.
Right.
He's getting better.
Right.
We could actually give him a job and maybe he'll fix those other 7 eventually, right? Because he's showing us he can elevate. So that day was that one. But over time, it was just like, okay. And then pretty soon I got my first job and I was there again. I remember the first time I was like a guest. I was like, oh man. And now I'm like hanging out with my peers that were people I looked to my whole life. I remember going to Old Town, eating Mexican food and going, oh, shoot. And then eventually it jumped over here.
Yeah.
And we were over, they built the convention center, and it was Hall A. That was like we were at A.
Right.
And then next year, AB. ABC, and right now we're A to H, and there is no I. Right. We can't get any bigger. So, I've been around since it was like in a basement to as big as it is right now.
Before we run out of time, what's the most exciting thing happening at McFarlane Toys that you want to talk about?
Wow. Shoot.
Any DC teases or?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sort of proud of all of what we do. I mean, obviously some of the brands are a little more stronger than others, and so we're constantly. I mean, actually this week we picked up 2 more licenses that we'll be announcing. So it's just a constant flow of like one product going away, another one coming in, and then you get excited about that one. You do it for a while, and another one comes in, and I don't usually have quote unquote favorites because they're usually pre-built. Like again, if you go and get Call of Duty video game or you get the 100th best one, then Call of Duty is a name brand that you're not going to get with something else down there, but you try to do the best you can with each one of them. On the comic book, and we've got a couple years ago we started the Spawn universe. We expanded it out.
Sure. And
now we have what I'm calling the 50-50-50, which is King Spawn, Gunslinger, Spawn, and Scorched, which is the sort of my Avengers, if you will, all reaching their 50th issue because they all came out within a couple months of each other in 2021.
Right.
50 months have gone by, 50 issues have come by, and we're going to be doing this big crossover story on all 3 of the 50-50-50s.
That's
so
awesome.
that, like, I don't know. I try to remember all the cool things I liked when I was a kid collecting.
Yeah.
And I try to put that into my comic books as much as possible.
That's amazing. Can't wait to see all of it coming. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate
All right,
your time.
Sure. You be good.
This was fantastic.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic Four.
Yes, exactly.